In 1864, General William Tecumseh Sherman and his troops faced the daunting task of advancing on the Confederate defenses at Kennesaw Mountain. Having spent 4 days waiting for the railroad bridge over the Etowah to be rebuilt, Sherman's forces were now ready to move forward. Joined by the 17th Corps under Major General Francis P. Blair, Jr., Sherman's army was reinforced with 9,000 seasoned veterans. On June 10, Sherman's vanguard reached Big Shanty, only to find themselves confronted by a 10-mile-long Confederate defense line. Sherman, true to his promise, decided not to attack the enemy's fortifications head-on. Instead, he deployed his forces parallel to the line, seeking a strategic advantage. His plan was to have the 4 and 14 Corps work their way around Pine Mountain, a vulnerable salient in the Confederate front, hoping to compel General Joseph E. Johnston to retreat. Despite relentless rain turning the fields into quagmires, the 4th Corps came close to achieving their objective by June 14. It was during these operations that Sherman noticed confident Confederate soldiers on Pine Mountain, making no attempt to conceal themselves. Unbeknownst to Sherman, among those saucy Confederates were General Johnston, General Hardee, and the Episcopal Bishop-turned-General, General Polk. Captain Peter Simonson's cannons fired at the exposed Confederates, causing them to scatter. The second shot likely struck General Polk, fatal to his left side. After Polk's death, Sherman learned that the Confederates withdrew from Pine Mountain, leading him to believe Johnston was in full retreat. Sherman ordered his forces to pursue, hoping to catch the enemy in the open. However, Johnston fell back to stronger positions, eventually reaching Kennesaw Mountain. Kennesaw Mountain consisted of 3 knobs: Big Kennesaw, Little Kennesaw, and Pigeon Hill. It formed the Confederates' most formidable defensive position yet. Adjusting his strategy, Sherman deployed the Army of the Tennessee to face General Hood's corps while the Army of the Cumberland faced Generals Loring and Hardee. In a bold move, Sherman sent Schofield and his 23 Corps to find a way to turn Johnston's left flank. Johnston counteracted Schofield's movement by switching Hood's corps to the left and extending Loring's front to fill in the gaps. Sherman's advance on Kennesaw Mountain showcased his strategic thinking, but the unexpected consequences of Polk's death and Johnston's resolute defense posed greater challenges. On the morning of June 22, 1864, General Hooker's corps, under orders from General Sherman, shifted southward to Cold's Farm on the Powder Springs Road. Meanwhile, General Hood, unaware of Schofield's presence, saw an opportunity to overpower Hooker and roll up the Union right flank. Hood's impulsive initiative, however, turned into a fiasco. The Confederates suffered about 1,500 casualties, while the Federals lost no more than 250 men at the so-called Battle of Cold's Farm, which Hood did not mention in his memoirs. Sherman, frustrated by the lack of progress, declared that flanking is played out. On June 25, he ordered Generals Thomas and McPherson to break through Johnston's fortified line with frontal assaults, despite their doubts about success. On the morning of June 27, the Union troops launched a furious but ineffective artillery bombardment. General Morgan L. Smith's division of the 15th Corps assaulted Johnston's right at Pigeon Hill, while other divisions attacked his center. Despite their determined efforts, Smith's and Newton's divisions failed to reach the Confederate works. Only a few of Davis's men managed to scale the enemy ramparts on Cheatham's Hill. Their assault was quickly repelled, resulting in heavy casualties for the Federals. Sherman's frontal attack strategy yielded devastating losses. With the stalemate ongoing, Sherman's last alternative was another flanking maneuver. Finally, on July 2, a message from General Schofield provided the answer. Cox's division had worked its way southward and appeared to have found the end of the Confederate line. Sherman asked General Thomas for his opinion, and Thomas firmly believed that turning Johnston's left flank was the better option. On July 2, the 15th Corps, joined by the 16 and 17 Corps, began their movement to turn the Confederate left. Meanwhile, Johnston, seeing no way to counter this maneuver, evacuated his lines and retreated southward. After weeks of stalemate, the battle for Kennesaw Mountain had turned in Sherman's favor. With the Confederate defenses breached, Sherman's men could finally advance along the Chattahoochee River.